It seems to me like the relationship or the contract, that's in air quotes, between an employer and employee is changing. What you see from the employer side is less commitment, right? You see companies laying people off, even when they've just raised a round of funding, even when they're reporting great numbers to Wall Street, and they're still culling their ranks, they're still reducing their workforce. Sometimes it's to focus on other areas of business. And very often they're employees that have been there for decades, people who are top performers, and yet they're just sometimes told in a very sterile email or Zoom meeting, like, sorry, you don't work here anymore. Right? Despite all of your contributions. And I think a lot of people are like, I gave my everything to this company. I was planning to stay here until I retired. Right? So you see a lot of that more so recently, which is very rattling to some people. And then what you also see is employers looking at habits of job seekers and saying, oh, there's so much job hopping, or, oh, look, they were only at this job for a year or two, and they are expecting more stability, or they would like to hire people who want to give them a commitment of 3 to 5 years. And I think that this is a shift that is here to stay. I think that the contract or the relationship between employers and employees is changing. I think gone are the days where somebody graduates from college or leaves the military and joins a big company and says, I'm going to be here until I retire. And if I just keep my head down and do my work, everything's going to be fine. And they'll just let me stay here as long as I don't, lie, cheat, or steal. And that is not the case anymore. And unfortunately, the rules, even though the rules have changed, I don't think we've prepared job seekers or employers enough to be able to operate within these new rules. So what do you think of that?
You're right. That's a lot. I have hot sports opinions about everything. So I'll just jump in and say, and this is why, if you guys read our bios, why Rachel and I work so well together, because she is very buttoned up and highly polished. And I sometimes. I am sometimes not. So I joined corporate America in 96 with at the time, I think it was privately held. It ended up going public, founded and led by one of the world's greatest entrepreneurial spirits around, Darwin Deason. I'll say his name out loud. Hard charging, hustle, go hard, go fast. But it was known in the organization that there was no guarantees you'd see tomorrow. It was what have you done in the last minute for the organization? I'll say younger listeners, but maybe all listeners, depending on where you were and what your belief system is, would hear that and say, oh, that's horrible. What a horrible place to work. But for me, what it did for the rest of my career, and look, even if you dribble in a little bit of the military, like nothing's guaranteed. In the military, it's your life. Like depending on the role you play, you may not see tomorrow, depending on your mission or the role of the job. And I'm not trying to be, all drama about it. It's real life. Right. The military isn't there to keep you safe and to coddle you. You must execute. And you must find ways to grow, survive. Corporate America, I think, should always have a little bit of that in it. And I didn't come up in a world where I expected ACS or GenPass or US Bank or Pfizer or Checo to take care of me. I have to take care of me. I have to grow me. I am responsible for me. So my contract or agreement with my employer, I know could end tomorrow, the next minute. What am I doing to add value so my name doesn't end up on that list? For better or worse, or the list being, we don't need this person anymore. Or like Rachel said, they're going to shut down this part of the business and focus on this one. Have I positioned myself from a skill set perspective to be valuable no matter what the business's decisions are? That's what everybody should be doing. I'll drift a little bit here and say, I've been the person at the table that chose who to lay off and who not to lay off. And it is awful. And, if you're the person that has to deliver the message, which I have done dozens of times, And you never get good at it. And you should be grateful you don't get good at it. Like, that is not something you want to say, I'm really good at this. You're bad. I have lumps in my throat or fumble with words, which upsets me because the person receiving that very horrible, bad news deserves better. But my nerves would sometimes get the best of me. You can put that stuff in a cold, dark place, but for the most part, we're all human and you don't ever want to be on the receiving end of that. But I always went into it knowing there's no guarantees. I think everything is free agency. Just like a corporation shouldn't take you for granted. Like, it's a gift that the corporation has your skill set and expertise, but it isn't a God-given right that they appreciate you forever or need you forever, and vice versa. So that's where leadership cuts through the middle of that. True, authentic leadership.